How many of you had a career in the past before CrossFit and didn't get any evaluation in order to help you to grow? Some of you, did you love that job? You loved it? Boucher? All right. You didn't like it? Yeah, I think for a lot of us, we forget that our coaches fall in love with CrossFit just like we do. And maybe they don't have a desire or the goal to be an affiliate owner like you did, but they also want to get better at this coaching thing. They want to become a good coach. They want to have an impact on their members. And it's our job, our responsibility as affiliate owners to pay that forward, to help them develop, because you're running the box. You have that impact. Now your impact can be on the coaches so you can spread the knowledge, spread the wealth, spread that experience. How many of your coaches come to you and they want to see value from you? They want to get that value and they want to create a professional staff. I know for many of us, the fun of CrossFit, the magic of CrossFit is this isn't always a professional environment. We're allowed to have a little bit of fun. But your coaches still want to feel like they're treated like professionals. And that's what we're going to work on today. We call it the ideal class experience, the 60 minutes that you or your coaches are going to work with your members. And we're going to talk about best practices of how to do that. So step one of this is you have to decide, is this a focus we want to do? So you decide you want to create the ideal class at your affiliate. We need to get the team bought in to do that. One thing we'll always tell you is you have to lead by example. You have to lead by example as an owner and as a coach. No different than fitness. Ideally, you're doing the same thing. You're asking of your clients the nutrition, the habits that you're doing outside the walls of your affiliate. But when it comes to the coaching, you have to be leading by example as well. When you leave here, or perhaps right now, I want you to pick a date on your calendar, and I want you to schedule your first staff meeting if you don't have it already. Our recommendation is often a weekday evening. You could even cancel the last close of the day. Thursday's International Rest Day at affiliates around the world. Thursday night, cancel that last class. Your coaches are typically a little more free than a Saturday or Sunday morning. Buy them Chipotle or buy them whatever is nearby, some coffee, whatever you want to do, and tell them we're having a staff meeting. I'm going to walk you through this. We're going to do this as if you were my coaches. And before you leave, I've got 50 plus handouts of an example that you can take back, ready to go for you. Evaluations, because who needs help with the actual evaluation itself? We've got you covered. Make sure you don't leave without it. So, ideal class experience. You're going to call that meeting next Thursday. All right, coaching staff. Let's think about it. Whether you coach 1, 4, or 12 classes a week, let's talk about from beginning to end what that best experience for our members look like. And here's what I want you guys to know. I know the answer. I've got a 6-page document over there that you're going to have. The answer's on there. My goal is to get buy-in from you guys. I get buy-in from you guys by letting you tell me what you think goes into that ideal class experience, right? Although I know the answers, right? It's like kids. Like, I know the answer. I want you to feel like you came up with this answer. It's no different than coaching. And when I say that, I mean this. If you haven't taken your level 2, when you go there, this is going to help you get even better feedback. Look at coaching as binary. Give you an example. Check out this elbow, not the bicep. I saw your eyes. The elbow. Is my elbow up? I'm front squatting. Is my elbow up? How many say yes? But if you're unsure, what happens to that member when you look at them squat? They don't get any feedback, correct? It's like, well, that's kind of good. Maybe I'll come back to them. But Sally over there, her elbows are down. What if you looked at every movement, every point of performance while you're coaching as yes or no? That's a no. So if it's a no, what has to happen? Feedback. Give me a cue. Elbows up. We can start right there. Point being, if you watch everything, are those knees out? I don't know. So it's a no, right? If there's doubt, there's no doubt. And that same concept of yes, no, binary coaching, we take to this ideal class experience. The point of the evaluation, like I said, is to hand it off. If you're the L3 of the box, the L4, the L2, and your coaching staff is newer, it's very challenging for them to do evaluations, to step in your place. But if that questionnaire, if that evaluation is yes, no, now anybody can do it. And we're going to talk about how to implement that deeper in when we get there. But let's talk in. Let's call that a coach check-in, Louie. How about that? Erica says start on time. Now, it's a 5 o'clock class. What time is starting on time? 5 o'clock? Okay, so we'll do that. How about this, though, for all of you out there? So that's a yes, no. I look at the clock. It's 5:01. It's not, well, you almost started on time. What is it? No, we did not start on time. A no gets circled. But let me ask you this. If you're coaching the 5 o'clock class, are you showing up at 5? So let's discuss. What's the expectation at your affiliate for the coach, depending on the class time they're coaching? Ultimately, it's at your discretion. I heard a couple 10s, I heard a couple of 15s. Me personally, I want to go with 15. So now, that 5 o'clock class, what time is it expected the coaches arrive? 4:45, yes or no? If your coaching staff is doesn't have the same credential, the same experience, the same knowledge as you, don't we think it's important that they show up with a plan? Are some of you afraid to ask your coaches to do more? It's hard to ask for more. Like, I understand a lot of what I'll talk about is somewhat in a vacuum, and every affiliate has many similarities, but also some things that are different depending on demographic and where you live. A couple of things to consider, like I started this with, yes. If we ask too much of our coaches and we're not paying them enough, that could pose a problem. Going back to what I said, creating that professional environment, helping them improve, helping them earn that next credential, helping them just become something better that they are very passionate about also goes a long way. And I asked you that because I don't want you to be the affiliate owner requiring lesson plans from coaches if you're not doing it as well. And I understand after hundreds, if not thousands of classes, many of you can show up, look at the board, and internally create a lesson plan. There's value to doing it ahead of time and writing it down. In addition to that, what Andrew said, are we paying our coaches per class or per hour? Because we've just established they actually need to be there for a minimum of 1 hour and 15 minutes. We haven't talked about how long they're sticking around for after class. So there's a high likelihood while you think you're paying your coaches well for that hour, it's not as good when you factor in it's 1.5 hours. So something to consider there. But I would definitely write down what Scott said, lesson plan. I'm also aware many of you follow some sort of programming that provides a coach's plan. Is that correct? Fern, one of my partners over there, and I will tell you, no matter what programming you're getting, be it CrossFit.com, CAP, or a host of others, you should consider it about 70% done for you. When we talk about warm-up, let's again think about it. What does that look like? Who remembers from their level 2 the 2 different types of warm-ups? Are we seeing that on the floor? Because I think oftentimes one of those either gets missed, looked over, there's no thought behind it, but your general warm-up, just to refresh, the goal of that is just to increase body temperature, mobility, that mindset. Because if it's the 5 a.m. class and you just rolled out of bed, we've got a slightly different angle than if it's the 5 p.m. class and you just sat at your desk for 8 hours. That specific warm-up is where we're really digging into the movements, when we're seeing progressions and we're advancing our movements. That's our opportunity to teach and get more out of our members. Again, what I love about CrossFit is the grassroots feel. My first affiliate was a racquetball court. We were breaking the floors. We had piping welded poorly into the walls that would fall off all the time, right? So we made those mistakes, but I like that. And I think it's a fear of requiring your coaches to wear a shirt, a specific shirt that is, right? How many of you make your coaches wear the box, not a CrossFit shirt, mid-state or whatever box you own? How many of you do that? Some of you, but consider this, a stranger, a new person walks into your affiliate. How many of your members, when their shirts are on, are wearing a CrossFit shirt? Almost all of them, right? We don't own clothes that don't None of you are wearing like a non-CrossFit shirt, right? To some extent, right? So how do I know who's in charge? Well, that guy over there is wearing a red shirt that says coach on the back. That's not a big ask, right? I do recommend, if you're gonna require that, give them at least one per day that they're gonna coach, but I think that's it doesn't have to be a polo shirt like 1996 when I worked at Club Fit and had to wear a polo shirt, but a t-shirt that has your box name. It could be the same exact t-shirt you sell with a different color and the word coach on the back, and that'll go a long way. And how many of you fell in love with CrossFit because someone made you feel good about yourself? And a lot of that had less to do with, well, I got a pull up or a muscle up, and it was like, oh, they asked me how my day was. I think we forget, being entrenched in this CrossFit world, how little face-to-face interaction many people have these days. And beyond that, how little people are actually communicating and caring about one another. Many people go about their entire day, week, or month without ever once being asked, hey, how you doing? Right? So going back to Louis' question, or with the coach check-in and what Marcus just said, I need to hear everyone's name. I would tell you at a minimum of 3 times per class. I want to hear it somewhere during this coach check-in and they walk in, Boucher, great to see you. I want to hear it ideally once in every evolution of class, general, specific workout. Right now we're getting far beyond 3. And my favorite way to end class individually is, hey, and by the way, Jeff, when am I going to see you again? You ask that question to your members, you're holding them accountable. We should be asking, and that could be one thing we add here. Again, ultimately, this is up to you. But if you ask every single member as they're walking out that door, when am I going to see you again, Jeff? When am I going to see you again, Andrew? They're going to give you a day, and you're going to hold them accountable to that. The retention will go up with that one simple move there. Let's think about the workout. One thing, here's a principle that Fern and I talk about all the time, and that's having a drop-dead start time. Right? Because you could have the best laid plans, 0 to 60 lesson plan, and slowly, I lost a little bit of time in that general warm-up, typically where you lose the most time. Then you went a little deeper on that handstand push-up progression. Then everyone had to pee, and that took 15 minutes, right? And now we're late. It's a 20-minute AMRAP or 50 minutes into class. So one thing that I would tell you to always have in your back pocket, I do it to this day. I look at the workout, I write my lesson plan, but I always know I need to be saying 3, 2, 1, go by this time or this class is ruined. All right, so drop dead start time when it comes to that workout. Did they start, and you guys don't have to be writing these down because like I said, we've got the full document for you printed out. But drop dead start time. We got Cindy, like you guys mentioned earlier. How long, Cindy? 20 minutes. What time do we need to be starting that by? What happens if we started at 40? Do we end class on time? No. Right? So just thinking about that. Do we start it at 30 and have 10 minutes? Do we start it at 35 and have 5 minutes? It's Cindy. There's no equipment out. How much time is that going to take to put things away? So always just considering that. And that way I know, oh man, I went too long on that kipping progression. You know, we're bypass. You guys all know what push-ups are? Cool. 3, 2, 1, go. Right? So having that drop dead start time. Throughout the class, I need you to check in on all 16 members, and I need to see something. If your hand touches someone, I'm assuming, you know, it was a cue. If you're standing in front of someone demonstrating a vertical torso, we've got a cue. If I hear you yell elbows up across the room, that's a cue. Right? And on this document, there's room for you to write down every athlete's name that shows up, and we can track that. You start doing that, you think your coaches are going to get better? Like, oh, Jay's watching, and I see somebody doing something over there. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but I know he's going to check off yes or no. I better go figure that out. And these evaluations can and should evolve with your staff. If I've got someone that took their level 1 last week and I want to get them on the floor, yes, I'm still going to evaluate them. But maybe, you know, Brian, who's a level 3, it might look like, hey, not only does everyone need a cue, everyone needs all 3 styles of cueing, right? Which will then also, verbal, visual, and tactile, encourage them to walk around. But I still love that, and I still think there's ways, we can figure out a way to track that. Demo every movement. Hey, we're doing filthy 50s. I'm going to demonstrate all 10 movements, potentially, right? And then there's, did you show up with a progression? Did you show up with a plan to help these athletes get to the full movement? So we can have demo up there, and we can have progressions up there. And again, you're going to see there's a ton of overlap, because this progression piece is going to tie all the way back to this lesson plan. Did you show up with a lesson plan? And now I'm going to look at that lesson plan and see, hey, we're doing the push jerk, and I see that you have, hey, grab a barbell and go. What happened to the jump and land? What happened to the jump and land with your hands up? What happened to the jump and punch? Right? So thinking about that perspective. Let's start to wrap up this with what happens at the end of the class. So let's talk. We talked about that drop dead start time. Do you think we should have a cool down? Yes. Right? What happens during that cool down? High fives, right? More importantly, maybe we're bringing people back down to, how many of you have left a workout wad drunk? Like, I shouldn't be driving right now, right? Most of us, right? So, are we bringing our athletes back down to homeostasis? Are we doing a stretch or two? Are we checking in, like Cody said, right? So thinking about what we want there, and we kicked this off earlier with start on time. You think it's important we end on time? Right? Ending on time. Class started at 5, class ends at 6. At 6:02, Sally's got to go to work. Right? I think sometimes that's overlooked. Like, oh, it's only 2 to 5 minutes. Well, a lot of these people have kids, have family, have jobs that 2 to 5 minutes is important to them. Right? Pros own the clock. Respect the clock for both you and for your members. Is it immediately obvious to them who is in charge? Right? And that's a simple way is that shirt. Another way, well, it's probably that guy screaming at everybody in the middle of the room. And then on top of that, are we giving them that heads up? Hey, you guys all realize all of your members need to pee before they work out, correct? That's an understanding as coaches. So are we planning for that, right? Because if you don't, you're going to be late. But if I know I need to start this workout by 26 minutes, 23 minutes, I need to be saying, hey, go take a pee. Come back, we start in 3 minutes. And one next layer to that, if you're not already doing that, start the clock. Hey, that clock's running, you got 3 minutes. We're starting in 3 minutes, whether you've peed or not. And then own it, 3, 2, 1, go. Andrew had said 3 strangers are interacting. And I think anything you want to track 100%, this is just an example of what we're gonna give you. Take things off, add things, right? But just make sure you're doing it in such a way that you're not putting expectations on the coach that are outside of their control. Let's talk a little bit deeper how to put this into play. Everyone's going to have a coaches meeting at some point in August, right? Some of you have never done one. This might be your first. Some of you have your monthly one. If they're quarterly, however you manage them, but you've committed to doing this. You're going to have at that meeting exactly what we just did. Now, the difference being, I think we can add a lot more to this. This has to end with everything you want on that ideal class on the board, which will eventually get on paper, which will eventually be signed by all your coaches. Now, let me ask you, guys, those of you that put your hand up and said one of these things on the board, do you feel like, oh, now I got to own that, right? Like now you give that whiteboard brief. You think Brian, if he's one of my coaches, is not going to be showing up with a plan a little more bought in? The goal is that you're standing at a whiteboard just like I did. And I always think about this, like, be the mayor of your coaches. You know the answers, but make them give you the answers. Make them feel like I'm invested in this. I now want to do this because it was my idea. And that way when I come back and I'm like, hey, Boucher, that 7-minute whiteboard brief that you just gave, can we talk about that? Because you brought that up. You mentioned it. Right? So it's a good way to get that ownership and buy-in from your members. So you have this meeting, we get this on here. I like to have it signed by every coach, and then we should add this to their contract. They have contract, hey, this is what the ideal class experience looks like. From there, there's really 2 phases of implementation at the box. There's a blitz phase, and there's an ongoing phase. The blitz phase is we had this meeting on, is today Friday or Saturday? On Saturday, August, what's today? 5th. August 5th. By the end of August, I want every one of my coaches to have 3 evaluations done. You all fell in love with CrossFit because someone made you feel awesome on the floor. It's literally what you all said. I felt awesome. I felt accountable. They took care of me. It's worth it for you to do this. It's a lift. It's a heavy lift. Your coaching staff will improve because of this. And by the way, you're not immune from this. I told you it's binary, so anyone can do it. Part of the obligation on your end is, hey, who's doing mine? Because I'm right there with you in the trenches. I need to get better too. I need to lead by example. So I would recommend, it's a recommendation, every one of your coaches needs to pass 3 of these evaluations. 3 of them in a very short order. You as well. That's what we would refer to as the blitz phase. From there should be ongoing evaluations. And that should look something like monthly. Right? If you're very busy or you have 20 on your staff, that's totally okay. But they need to at least be periodical and consistent. And again, yours need to be there too. Let me throw one more layer to that Brian brought up well. That feedback needs to happen immediately. Meaning, if you have a coach that is responsible for the 4, 5, and 6 p.m. class, the only class they should be getting evaluated on is that 6 p.m. class. Because when I say that feedback needs to be immediate, there can't be a 3-hour break or a 2-hour break while they're coaching other classes. The immediate feedback is immensely valuable here because that just happened. That just happened, we can talk about it. Because while a lot of this is binary, I will encourage you, especially the evaluations you as the owner are doing, is to add some, stylistic feedback in there as well. Hey, I did see you give everybody a cue, but I did notice, Johnny still wasn't opening his hips all the way. Let's think about some other cues that we can work on. And when that's fresh, when that class just happened, that feedback will be better receptive from your coaching staff. So making sure, whether it's during that blitz phase or the ongoing phase, you're always available immediately after to deliver that feedback. How many of you took your level 2? And you have a coach like, okay, you're doing that, I get it, right? And I always like to tell people, I'm sometimes writing down great things that you're doing. Don't confuse writing for negative. I'm stealing that right now. So, but it is important. You want your coach to feel comfortable. I think there's value in being there to see it, but being out of sight. When I'm doing evaluations, my goal is to find a spot where you forget I'm there. I want to see what's really happening. So I think there's value to that. Being there, hearing everything, but not in their face, obvious that you're doing it. I would also tell you, Steph, as you do this more and more, your coaches get more and more accustomed to it, and they crave it. Like we said earlier, Andrew mentioned, $20 is not a lot for an hour. But when they're getting better, they're excited. They're happy. They want to do better. They want to work more. You do this well, you will have a different group of coaches in 3 months than you have today. I would encourage you, at least at the beginning, to let them know you'll be there, right? This is not I'm trying to help you succeed. I want you to do well. Now, in the future, if you have a coach that's always doing well and passing and you just happen to be there and want to do an evaluation, by all means, go for it. But I do think there's value in saying, hey, I'm going to be at your 6 p.m. class doing an evaluation. Schedule for the week goes out. Maybe the ones where there's evaluations happening are color-coded or there's an asterisk. But yeah, letting your coaches know, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be doing an evaluation. This should be very positive. Right? We often think about feedback as negative. Our company thrives on feedback because that's how we get better. That's how you got better as coaches. Feedback should not be, a 4-letter word. Feedback should be something positive and encouraged and valued and wanted at your box. I will tell you this. Do this. But take your coaches' classes and just give them a pointer or two. Hey, this was great. Maybe I would change. That should be every day, ongoing. But this, to do it really well, has to be, this is my only focus for that hour to hour and 15 minutes. Let's be candid. We're all friends and affiliate owners here. How many of you currently have a staff member that if they weren't coaching the 5 a.m. class, you'd fire them? If they didn't have 10 friends that you thought they'd take somewhere else, you'd fire? Let's briefly talk about it. You're the boss. That's going to translate to your other coaches. That's going to translate to your members. Chuck Carswell says, what happens at your affiliate, you create or tolerate. It's very rare you tolerate some behaviors that are poor and other ones aren't happening. In addition to that, if your coaches are bothering you, those that raise their hands, and that can look like many different things, I assure you they're bothering your other staff that are listening to you better, trying to develop more, and they're bothering your members. Same with your members. How many of you have a member you dislike? Be honest, all of you. Go ahead and put those hands up. You think they're bothering just you at your box? That's like the most narcissistic thing you can believe. If they're bothering you, they're bothering everyone. And here's what will happen. That person you don't like that's bothering everyone, they're not going anywhere. But you know who is? Sally, who pays you on time and you love. Johnny, who's been there for 3 years and can't stand that person. You're trying to save $100, $150, whatever they're paying, and you're stepping over, that, and you're going to lose thousands of dollars and good quality members who are referring others because you're worried about that turd. Turd's a scientific word for point being, that needs to be addressed. And we've helped many affiliate owners get rid of somebody like that, and the sense of relief they immediately feel, that weight on your shoulders just disappears. And guess what? A better coach that cares more, that is receptive to feedback, will naturally rise up. Because here we are as affiliate owners talking about 30 million CrossFitters by 2030, talking about we want to grow this thing. You're here in Madison, Wisconsin because we love CrossFit. Those people are impacting your business. They're impacting your ability to have an impact. And as soon as you get rid of them, I love the expression, change the people or change the people. Hey, we should write that down. That's a good one. She's right. Write that down. But we need to do that, and we need to be less afraid as affiliate owners to do that. Because again, going back to what I asked, this is why you all are here today, because someone impacted you. And that person checking their phone, that person sitting down, you think they're impacting your community in a positive way? No. That document that we're handing out, you should have one in your office with everyone signed on it. That is the expectation here. That is what we offer. That is our ideal class experience. I want you to pass this every single time. And if you don't pass it, I'm here for you. I'm going to help you work through it. You didn't say everyone's names 3 times. Is there a challenge for you there? I don't know everyone's names. All right, let's get some name tags. I'll bring those out next. You're going to pass this. As long as you're dedicated to the craft of coaching, I got you. Let's tie a little bow on it. How many of you are going to have a meeting in August? Staff meeting. Most of you now. Let your coaches know ahead of time, right? Let them know we're doing a staff meeting. We're going to go over what an ideal class looks like. Hey, I'm going to provide dinner for you guys. This should take no no different than your class. Respect your coach's time. We're going to start at 6. We're going to end at 7. We're going to eat in there. You'll be out of here. It's no problem. 7 o'clock. I got you. You just waiting for one? And then we're going to start doing these. We're going to make sure all of you pass 3 evaluations, and then we're going to continue doing this. So if this were me, right, this would all be either in my head or written down like it is here, and I show up, like Louis said, first one, like, hey, let's check in. Cool, we have that down, and mentally I'm just, okay, that's done. And then let's do an example. We didn't call this one out, right? Included a social element, right? That could be like, hey, we're kicking off with a dad joke, or we're asking a question, or it could be like, hey, everybody hands in at the end, whatever that looks like. But we're at the staff meeting and no one's brought that up, and I might be like, hey guys, Johnny always does a hands in at the end of class when he coaches. Do you guys like that? Yeah, what do you think? Is that part of our ideal class? Yeah, let's do that. right? I know the answers. I'm just pretending and faking it to give you the answer, right? So that's why I want you to do it. Because again, just like we did it here, yeah. Because the whole point is, at the end of this, when you guys leave, there's just nothing but buy-in amongst your staff. Like, they're fired up. They feel ownership, like, oh, now I better do a hands-in because I'm the one that, I tricked you into thinking that was your idea, right? A couple other things I would recommend when it comes to meetings. I do recommend that monthly meeting. I certainly recommend doing this. I think an easy, low-hanging fruit for many of you is a weekly Zoom check-in with your coaches. And again, 15 minutes. This is not belabored. And if you miss it, cool. You can listen to a Zoom call on your commute to work tomorrow, but it's just a quick check-in. One other thing off topic, but on this topic of coaches meetings, I highly recommend, our team recommends, your communication needs to happen off of a text thread. Something like a tool like Slack or any other communication tool, right? Communicate with your coaches professionally, because I know from experience that text thread becomes memes, it becomes who's winning the CrossFit games, right? And all of a sudden that text about an injured member gets overlooked. So using something like Slack or a communication tool for your coaches will start to professionalize your team. All right, well, I'm getting the boot from this guy. I'll stick around. I'll go over in that area. If you guys have any more questions for me, Marcus, Fern, or the team, we've got a booth downstairs. If you're interested in Affiliate University or learning more about the knowledge or our coaching, come on down. We would love to work with you guys. This is what we love to do. Thank you all for letting me talk to you guys.